Thanks for sticking with us. It was 1 year ago today that Lewiston and Maine changed forever. Right here on your screen, these are the 18 people who lost their lives in an act of gun violence that many Mainers never thought would happen here. Families and friends were broken. That loss is still felt. But through it all, neighbors have picked each other up, strangers have helped the community heal, and today the state is still Lewiston Strong. Good evening, everyone. I'm Amanda Hill.
And I'm Brian Yacono. In just a moment, that commemoration event will start. The program will honor those affected by the events at Schmenge's Bar and Grill and Just in Time Recreation, as well as those who've responded and continue to support the community there. We want to head to the Colisee in Lewiston. That's where Chris Costa and Sam Olson join us live tonight.
Well, Brian and Amanda, this event tonight is set to get kicked off at just about 6 o'clock, which I know on our watches here is coming up right now. But as you can imagine, this is a very emotional day. They want to make sure that this process here tonight goes off flawlessly. But as you can imagine, a lot of the people who are working this event are also coping with their own grief, their own trauma, the journey that they've been on over the last 365 days. You have probably heard this same sentiment over and over and over again over the last 365 days, that Maine is such a big, small town, or small state, right? Big, small town. Everybody knows each other, and so many people who are walking through the doors here tonight know somebody who was there that night, may have lost somebody, may be living with somebody who survived the shooting, and even people who were not there, who didn't lose somebody, have felt this ripple effect in their daily lives. And you and I have spent a lot of time over the last year speaking to a lot of those family, friends, victim survivors.
Yeah, I've spoken recently with numerous victims' family members who say they don't want to recognize that this is 1 year. It's been such a hard year for them, losing their loved one, and they don't want the reality to set in that it's been 12 months without them. And the theme from multiple families has just been they want their family members to be remembered, not just one of 18, but for what they did in this world and what lives they led. So hopefully today, when they go one by one and just read the names, it really is sentimental for them. You know,
we were speaking with Kara Cookson. She's the victim witness advocate for the Attorney General's office. Her role has been working with a lot of the people who have gone to testify in front of the independent commission that investigated the facts of this shooting. But as you can imagine, as these people, these loved ones, tell everything about what happened to their family and friends that night, there's a lot of emotion that comes with that. She was reminding us that when this happened a year ago, 1 month later was Thanksgiving, another month later was Christmas, but that this year, after a full 12 months, those holidays may become even more difficult for people as their grief journey has kind of evolved, grown, shape-shifted as the time has gone on.
Yeah, and the grieving process looks different for everyone, as
right.
She said. And some people say they can't talk about it because it is hard. And then others say they need to talk about it because it's hard. So it's just different for each person.
That's, I think, one thing that I've noticed a lot is there have been certain families, certain people, certain pockets, little communities that say, we want to invite you in because we want to share all these memories of our loved ones, and how this community has come together to wrap their arms around us, how we've lifted up the community. One thing that we were talking about earlier was all of the different ways that the community has come together. We talked about softball tournaments because one of the victims, Ron Morin, was a softball umpire. A lot of these people knew him because of his smile that they'll never forget from being behind the home plate at those games. And there have been many events just like that over the last year.
Yeah, over the last year, there has been, so many businesses made shirt designs and sweatshirts and sold those. And the Maine Community Foundation raised more than $6 million for victims and the community here. And it's just therapeutic for people to give in that sort of way. And, it's just therapeutic to show up to those events and to talk about it. And I have spoken with Ben Dyer. He was a victim shot at Schmenge's, and he just said that he wants to share his story because he wants folks who have in some ways just gone on with their lives to remember that people are still suffering and dealing with things from last year.
Well, I remember speaking with some of the business owners, both at the bowling alley and at the former bar, who said we kind of felt like we were forgotten in this, that people moved on and said, well, they're just the business owner, they'll be okay. And when I spoke with some of them, they said, no, really, I'm not. my life has been turned upside down. So there's been, obviously, as you can imagine, Brian and Amanda, a lot of emotion that's kind of morphed over the last year. So here's what we can expect tonight. When this program kicks off, you're going to hear, obviously, the Maine State Police Pipe and Drum Corps will be doing its performance of Amazing Grace, presenting the colors. The Lewiston High School Choir will also perform the national anthem. And then Nesson broadcaster, Lewiston native Tom Caron, who is the broadcaster for the Red Sox, is the master of ceremonies tonight. He'll have some opening remarks. And then we're going to be, it sounds like the program's starting. Brian and Amanda will send it back to you.
Okay, guys, Chris and Sam live outside of the Colisee, where that program is just now beginning inside of the Lewiston Colisee. We're going to leave you with that, and we'll come back once it's done.
Ready? Please stand for the presentation of the colors.
Present. Order. 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 Detail. Ready. Face. About. Colors are begin. Forward. March. No. No. No.
This evening's honor guard represents the public safety agencies of Auburn and Lewiston's fire and police departments. And now, Amazing Grace, performed by the Maine State Police Pipe and Drum Unit. Please remain standing for the national anthem, which will be performed by the Lewiston High School Choir.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. You may be seated. We invite you to turn on your candles and enjoy Save You a Seat by Alex Warren.
Trisha Aslin. Billy Brackett. Peyton Brewer Ross. Thomas Conrad. Michael Delorier. Max Hathaway. Keith McNear. Brian McFarlane. Ron Morin. Joshua Seal. Arthur Strout. Bob and Lucy Violet. Stephen Vizella. Jason Walker. Joe Walker. Aaron and William Young.
Thank you, Danielle. I'm Shanna Cox, President and CEO of the LA Metro Chamber. I'm joined by Danielle Parent, who so many of you know, the Director of the Maine Resiliency Center. It is our honor to welcome you here this evening. Now please help me welcome our Master of Ceremonies for the evening, Tom Kieran, Lewiston native and New England Sports Network broadcaster. Welcome home, Tom.
Thank you. Good evening. Tonight we come together to commemorate the one-year anniversary of the tragic events of October 25th, 2023, the darkest night in the history of this city. We come together to reflect on the horror we experienced that night, to pay respect to the 18 lives taken from us. We honor their spirit, their legacy, and remember the impact they had and continue to have on our lives today. We remember the heroism of those who survived, the support of those who stand with us today. We remain grateful for the first responders and medical workers who showed us courage in the face of fear. Over these last few days, it's only natural that we would feel a wide range of emotions as we come closer to the anniversary of this date. Sadness, anger, anxiety. In the past days, there have been more and more stories about what happened here a year ago, and with them come a flood of memories. We are here to share in those emotions, to help one another, and to help us get through this date. My wife and I were born and raised here in Lewiston, and we wear our pride in this city openly. Over the past year, that pride has only grown. The resiliency you have shown has been nothing short of stunning, but not surprising, not to anyone who grew up here. This city was built on hope, people coming from around the world to build a better life in Lewiston, Auburn. That spirit of hope, that resiliency, the love and support has carried us through the past year, and it will continue to carry us in the days ahead, allowing us to move forward while never forgetting what has happened in the past. Here tonight, there is light. We've come together to help each other lift the burden of sorrow, opening our hearts to one another and sharing in grief and in hope. We remember this date last year for tragedy. Let us try to remember this night, tonight, for the love and continued healing we find in our community. Anyone from this city has always known what it means to be Lewiston Strong. Over the past year, the rest of the world has come to understand what those words truly mean. That strength is on display for the world to see again tonight. We will hear stories of tragedy and of grief, of survivorship and resiliency. We begin by honoring those who were killed that night, their relationships with survivors and their families, and the memories of their lives that stay with us today. We invite you to share this slideshow that honors those who were killed, their relationships with the survivors, and their memories. stage now is Liz Seal. She is the wife of Joshua Seal, a beloved member of this community who was killed while playing cornhole with friends at Schmenge's. Joshua was a friend to many impacted by this tragedy and to many here tonight. He was the father of 4 beautiful children. Please welcome Liz Seal.
When you're walking and you see a spider web hanging in a corner, on a tree somewhere, you may just brush it away as you walk by. You may simply ignore it. But if you look closely, you'll see that these spider webs are made of single strands of silk. These strands are thin, almost invisible, and incredibly strong. Now, think about the people in our community. We may not realize it yet, but we are all connected somehow. You know how you sometimes take photos of family and friends or of places you've been to, and there's sometimes people lingering in the background. Most of the time, they're strangers, people you don't know. But sometimes there's a connection there that you don't realize until later. This is more likely to happen in our community. At the time of this tragedy, I only knew 4 of the victims because of our small, or so I thought, because of our small, close-knit deaf community. As I came to get to know the families a bit better, I realized that I knew some of the other victims because we had some mutual friends or we interacted with each other in the community at some point. These interactions may be so small, but there's still a connection there, an invisible strand, if you will. It's true when they say that Maine is one big, small town. In this group of 18 victims, there was someone who umpired my softball game, someone who served food at my daughter's birthday party, someone whose kids attended the same school as my kids, someone who went to my friend's children's school, someone who hosted fundraising events for our community that I attended, someone whose niece is friends with my daughter, and I could go on and on. Without thinking about it, we interact with people in our community, and these connections are made, leaving an invisible strand, one that isn't seen until we realize it. We are all interconnected, and these connections, just like a spider web, are beautiful. I wish it didn't take a tragedy for me to discover these connections, but I'm glad to have met and gotten to know all of the families of the victims, the survivors, the first responders, and those who have supported us in many ways since then. These connections have formed a spider web of a beautiful community that will forever be Lewiston Strong, and I am proud to be a part of it. I love you all.
Liz spoke about community and the communities within a community. And as she said, it's often a tragedy that makes us realize there are far more similarities between those communities than there are differences. Let us try to remember that in the good times as well as in the bad. No community should ever have to learn how to support the victims of a mass shooting. Over the past year, everyone in Lewiston and Auburn, everyone connected to these cities, everyone from this community have tried to show love and support for those who need it. Joanna Stokinger is the surviving grandmother of a homicide victim. She has used her experience to build a career as an advocate for the victims of violent crimes. She is the lead advocate at the Maine Resiliency Center and has been here to provide support to many families whose loved ones were killed in this tragedy and to the victims who survived. Joanna will now speak.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome those that survived the terror and chaos that was October 25th, 2023. Welcome to surviving family members and loved ones of those that didn't make it home that night. Welcome friends, first responders, support partners, advocates, and community members as we gather here today and remember with love and reverence the events that changed our lives and brought us here tonight 1 year later. It's been 1 year since a thread was ripped from the fabric of our lives. It's been 1 year since the families of the 18 people killed that night will never get to hug, talk to, or spend time with their loved ones. It's been 1 year since the injured were taken to hospitals. It's been 1 year since those present at Just in Time and Schemengees escaped and made it home. It's been 1 year since our community was full of fear and disbelief that this could happen here. It's been 1 year since law enforcement, first responders, community leaders, and victim advocates flooded Lewiston to assist those that were impacted. In the tapestry of our community, every thread plays a vital role. Each and every one of you here tonight and everyone viewing the live stream are a thread in our tapestry. We may be frayed. Some of us are torn and hanging on. Some of us have had to be stronger thread to hold others together. Some of us were almost ripped out and have had to recuperate and recover. This beautiful tapestry of our community will not unravel and float away. We will still be a beautiful sight. We just might look and feel a little different, and that's okay. How do I know that we won't totally unravel, that we won't succumb to the trauma and pain that was thrust upon us a year ago? I know because I have had 364 days of seeing people heal, of watching survivors serving others, of witnessing friendships form and chosen family built. I know because I have seen several scholarships created in the names of those killed that night. I know because I have seen people come to the Maine Resiliency Center seeking connection over and over. I know because I've watched people that were present at one location that night attend events to support survivors of the other location, time and time again. I know because I've witnessed people that would never interact with one another 366 days ago, who now lean on and support each other without fail. I know because I've watched children bowl and laugh again. I know because I've watched people go back to the place that changed their world a year ago. I know because I've seen families welcome new babies within a year since someone that would love that baby that is no longer here. I know because I've watched people reach out for help, even though that it is a hard and scary thing to do. I know because I stood next to a survivor recently who walked away from Schemengees with injuries. We were standing in line at the Maine Strong Foundation softball tournament, waiting for raffle tickets. This person handed over a stack of bills and instructed the ladies manning the ticket table to give 20 tickets to each kid that walked in the door. This person would not give their name and then quietly walked away. The man standing behind him did the same thing. These are all examples that show us that our threads can be strengthened and new threads can be added to the tapestry that it is our community, making it even stronger. At the risk of repeating myself, and those of you who know me have heard me say this before, please remember, as impacted individuals, you can strengthen your thread by recognizing the following. It's not your job to train the people in your life how to handle your trauma. It's okay to express what you need and how people can help you, and it is absolutely okay to set boundaries. Give yourself grace. It's okay to have all the feelings, and it's okay to not be okay. It's also okay to laugh and smile again. Move forward at your own pace. There is no roadmap for healing and grief that fits everyone. Woven into this tapestry is sadness, grief, anger, hurt, despair, and fear. But I also know that hope, resiliency, promise, possibility, love, warmth, support, friendship, happiness, healing, and strength are also foundational threads that are intertwined in this beautiful fabric. I'd like to leave you with a quote I came across recently by William C. Hannon. I know this transformation is painful, but you're not falling apart. You're just falling into something different with a new capacity to be beautiful. Thank you so much, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, Joanna. The Maine Resiliency Center has been a beautiful addition to our community, a new community based in love and support and the help that we have all needed at times over the last year. A year where we've heard the expression Lewiston Strong over and over. And what is strength? Strength comes in many different forms. From the hockey players who call the Colisee home, the Maine Nordiques who play here. From parents who try to help their children understand how something so unspeakably bad could happen to this community. To the friends and family members and loved ones who have been here to hold one another through lonely nights that seemed like they would never end. That is strength. It takes many forms, and we have needed every form of strength to get through the past year. In the past year, we've learned that the idea that a mass shooting couldn't happen here, that concept was shattered forever. The senseless violence stunned not only our community, but the nation, bringing people together in a show of support. Coming up next on stage, someone who has come here tonight to show that support. She is a Tony-nominated actress, best known for her roles in The Walking Dead, and is the first deaf superhero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the film Eternals. Please welcome Lauren Ridloff.
I have to be honest with all of you today. When I first received the email inviting me to this event as one of the speakers for this evening, my first thought was not just, of course, why me? Why ask me? So I took a long walk. I thought long and hard. Why should I come to this event and speak to a group of people who experienced such a devastating loss? Why ask me? And during that walk, I remembered when I first heard about what happened in Lewiston. Remembering it hurt again. As a mother, and as a wife, and as a daughter, and as a sister, and as a friend, as a colleague, and as a proud member of the deaf community. I hurt. And in that hurt, I found the reason I was asked to come. I experienced the shock of gun violence just a few months ago while in Italy attending a festival for the deaf. The terrible circumstances were horrifying. And what I also recall about those events was the sure and swift support of the deaf community. I was a foreigner in another country. The news traveled fast across continents and an ocean. Within 15 minutes, I was getting check-ins from deaf friends, from those who were local to that country, from colleagues, and even the teenage children of my friends. They all checked in to see if I was okay. And from that support is where I found connection. The connection with all of you here today. I stand here as a member of the deaf community. And as a believer in the power of community and the strength of connection through communication and love. I look to you, the Lewiston community, for those of you who are here this evening who experienced such a devastating loss. You experienced loss and love, and those are the two reasons we are all here today. These two emotions are deeply connected. This community is gathering in grief and also in love. And those emotions shape how we move through life day by day. This is harder than I thought. It's still very raw. What I see is the strength of community. Joanna and Liz both spoke about interconnectedness and tapestry and how we are all part of this beautiful tapestry, and this is our strength. On October 25th, we lost all of these members of our community, people we love, people who meant a great deal to us. Life is not just about isolating grief and love. It's about living with both. The two are interconnected. Grief and love. Life is filled with times where joy and sorrow, love and loss shape our days and our connection to others. Catherine Schultz, who wrote Lost and Found, she calls these in-between moments the moments of love and loss, joy and sorrow, the and moments. So she talks about the two opposing ideas and what connects those two opposing ideas. The word and, lost and found. And life is what happens in between. This is what we experience day in and day out. In any given moment, there's not just one emotion we might be experiencing. It's the that and, the this and. Living is a constant process of connecting the highs to the lows and the lows to the highs. October 25th happened, and then October 26th came. And think about October 24th, the day before. All the other days bring meaning to October 25th. The people we lost are not here tonight, but they continue to be a part of how we live, how we move through life day by day, and how we remember. They are still shaping how we move through the world. This is why we truly need that word and to live. And is an interesting word because it seems ordinary. And it's one of the most used words in the English language. It doesn't seem to stand out. It's an everyday, ordinary word. But it's also a powerful word that connects words and ideas. And people. And this is the word that connects me to you and you and you and you. And we are all part of the tapestry here today. This community lost something, and this community found resilience and strength. And we need each other. I want to show you the sign. I don't typically rely on articles as much when I write or speak English. I still find a lot of power in the sign that represents A-N-D. For me, when I see other people use that sign, and, it looks as if they're reaching out and holding on to something, moving it along, making a moving connection. When I sign it, to me, it looks as if I'm reaching out and holding on to something moving it along with me in making the connection, the and. Today, we gather to mourn those lost a year ago, and we gather to celebrate their lives and the community that they helped build. Our strength lies in our ability to mourn and to love, to grieve, and to heal. In the and moments of life, we find resilience together, you and you and you and you and you and you. Let's carry each other and keep going together. Lewiston Strong. Thank you.
Our next speaker is a consultant to the Maine Resiliency Center. Regina Schulman is the group leader and support for victims and survivors over the past year. She will share reflections from her past year helping this community and lead us in moments of silence at the time of the shooting at Just in Time Recreation and Schmenge's Bar and Grill. Please welcome Regina Schulman.
Good evening. In just a moment, I'm going to ask us all to take a moment of silence for those killed at Just in Time Bowling Center. Thank you. And in just a few moments, we'll be having one more moment of silence. For those killed at Schmenges. Thank you. The unimaginable tragedy happened in the fall of 2023. And now, as we once again enter into the fall 1 year later, the daylight is getting shorter, and at random times, vivid memories of the tragedy are surfacing. Yet along with the seasons comes the process of healing. For a moment, I would like to take you back and share about the first several months of the MRC, Community Support Groups. There was an instant recognition that people were feeling isolated and deeply wounded. When the victims and survivors listened to each other, they shared that they didn't feel alone. This was a safe place for them to talk about the unthinkable, the unimaginable. Horror that they couldn't share with family, friends, co-workers, and those who hadn't experienced the same ordeal. They identified with each other, witnessed each other in pain and grief, and supported each other. Toward the end of the first 6 months, our community learned that the healing process is not linear, and a new normal was emerging. The conversations shifted from intense recollections of the tragic shooting toward hope understanding that the healing is never a straight line, right? It loops. It goes like this sometimes. It goes up and down. The theme for that first 6 months, we are not alone and we're not okay. We talk a lot about vicarious trauma and PTSD and the field of trauma recovery. We don't seem to talk as much about vicarious resilience, vicarious healing, and post-traumatic growth. Healing happens when we cry with each other during times of loss, when we honor missed loved ones, the changed bodies from physical wounds and surgeries, and the psychological, emotional, and spiritual pain. Healing also happens when we cheer each other on and witness the many first steps that are taken. The first time out to the grocery store, the first time back to work, to dinner, or a movie theater, or a concert. Healing happens when we honor the mixed feelings that arise with the return to the bowling alley or the first cornhole tournament without the friends and loved ones who were killed. I'm reminded that when we experience tragedy and unimaginable loss, it can make us harder, and that's okay. It can also make us softer, and that's okay too. There are so many stories of both and, joy and heartache together in the same heart. Some sentiments shared by this community. This experience has made me a kinder human. I notice that I reach out more. I think about what people are going through in their life before I pass judgment. I'm a bit softer. An individual shared the conflicting feelings upon the discovery of being pregnant 5 days after the shooting, whose husband survived. Asking the question, why do I get to start a family when 18 other families are burying their loved ones? The baby was born this summer and is there light in the dark, good in the bad, hope in the middle of tragedy. Another stated, we continue to grieve those we lost, but we also celebrate life and are thankful every day for those we love. After the 6-month anniversary, people formed friendships, showed up for each other. There were budding romances. Babies were born. People got married. And others died from natural causes. People were navigating, moving forward, celebrating while still holding grief, pain, and trauma. as fall approached. The topic of back to school for the kids, different schedules, new teachers, after school activities including bowling, new challenges approaching this 1-year anniversary. Speaking of kids, recently I was in awe as I witnessed kids ages 9 to 17 years old talk about the biological underpinnings of the stress and relaxation response. They explained how skipping rope, shaking and dancing, breathing, are ways in which they can change the way their brain's behaving when they feel stressed, struggling with schoolwork, or having a bad memory about what happened at the bowling alley. These incredibly resilient kids are our future leaders. This month has been challenging. A week ago, there was clearly a significant level of upset and pain arising at the beginning of the adult support group. And a number of us offered to help cut out blue hearts in a meditative practice. Some have been placed on the chairs, the back of your chairs actually. The color blue is for Lewiston, and the hearts serve as a reminder that those killed are not forgotten. A symbol that had touched the whole community in many different ways. A reminder that healing doesn't happen in a linear fashion. We can hold pain and joy, sorrow and gratitude, all in the same heart. The theme for the second 6 months: we will rise above, and together we are stronger. A quote from two dear friends summarizes this theme. We do hard stuff. We acknowledge that yes, it's hard, and we are stronger than whatever the challenge is that we're facing. As my time with you comes to a close, I invite you to hold a blue heart or a candle. If not, you might imagine that you have one. And simply place it on your heart if it's comfortable. If it's not, it's okay, it's an invitation. And maybe in this moment, there's a prayer or a wish for yourself or your loved one. Something you'd like to let go of. Perhaps a burden from your heart, a pain from your mind, and in your spirit, a sorrow. Let's take a few breaths together, shall we? And again, it's an invitation, if it's comfortable. And as I hold this blue heart to my heart, what comes to me is a prayer for hope for our community as it enters a second round of 4 seasons. A prayer for those moments of joy without guilt. A prayer for moving forward and always remembering the people that we love that are not here. Honoring their memories and honoring where we are in the healing process in each moment. Thank you all for coming to support each other and honor those who are not here. Thank you for inviting me to speak. I am deeply honored. And a final thank you to our American Sign Language interpreters for helping us to communicate.
Thank you, Regina. Resilience is defined as toughness, the capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties. Maybe it hasn't been quickly, but the people of Lewiston have shown that toughness to the entire world over the past year. Tommy Minch is a deaf advocate and program director of Disability Rights Maine and the Maine Resiliency Center. He's been a close friend to many who are impacted by this tragedy, and he will speak. Please welcome Tommy Minch.
It's a remarkable testament to the human spirit that can, even in the face of tragedy, people can find positivity and hope. The aftermath of a devastating event can be a time of immense sorrow, fear, and uncertainty. However, it is also a time when communities come together, offer support, and demonstrate incredible resilience. Here are some ways people often find positivity and hope after a tragedy. Community unity. The shared experience of hardship can forge strong bonds between people. Communities often rally together to provide support, comfort, and assistance to those affected. Acts of kindness. Witnessing acts of kindness and compassion can be incredibly inspiring. Seeing people come together to help others can restore faith in humanity. Personal growth. Many people find that going through a difficult experience can lead to personal growth and resilience. Overcoming challenges can strengthen one's character and outlook on life. Finding purpose. Some people find meaning and purpose in helping others or working towards a cause related to the tragedy. This can provide a sense of direction and hope for the future. Lastly, remembering the lost. Honoring the memory of those who have passed away can be a source of comfort and inspiration. Memorials and tributes can help people remember the lives that were lost and the impact that they had on the world. One year ago, we faced a profound loss that forever changed our community. While the pain may still linger, we have also witnessed, as you see here even tonight, the incredible strength and resilience of our people. Together, we come together to support one another. Together, we come together and support each other, heal, and rebuild. Let us continue to honor the memory of those we lost by embracing hope, showing compassion, and the enduring spirit of our community. We are stronger than we ever imagined. Thank you.
The speakers tonight remind us that in the wake of seeing the worst in humanity, we have seen the best in humanity. We have seen love and support grow out of the darkness. Shanna Cox, you've already heard from her. She's the president and CEO of the Lewiston Auburn Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce. She's helped to coordinate the fundraising response for victims, survivors, families, and small businesses. A year ago, Shanna and her team went to work immediately, working to create OneLewiston.org. Its resources, financial and social, have helped everyone affected in this community and by this tragedy. Please welcome Shanna back up to the stage.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tommy. Your comments about resilience, I appreciate. Today has been, and this day will always be, about remembrance, but it is also about resilience. As we reflect on the events of October 25th, 2023, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the collective grief that we have carried and the resilience that continues to bind us together. Tonight, we stand not alone, but as a community that has faced unimaginable loss and continues to heal together. I'd like to ask that as I call upon groups in our community, that you stand and be recognized for the part you have played in our shared journey. Please remain standing as we recognize each other one by one. If you lost a loved one on October 25th, either at Just-in-Time Recreation or Schmenge's Bar and Grill, please stand and be recognized. Please remain standing. If you were present at either location that night and you witnessed those moments firsthand, I ask you now to stand and be recognized. If you responded that night, whether you are part of our brave police, fire, or EMT services, public works, a therapist, or an interpreter who brought comfort and communication, join these folks, stand, and be recognized. If you cared for those affected as a healthcare professional, a victim's advocate, a funeral service provider, I ask that you stand, join us, and be recognized. If you are part of the bowling, cornhole, pool, or darts communities that were forever changed that night, join us, stand, and be recognized. If you searched for a loved one that night, if you sheltered in place, whether at a business, a public gathering spot, or in your own home, stand and join us and be recognized. And finally, if you prayed for, consoled, or shared moments with anyone who is standing now, I invite you to stand, join us, and be recognized. Look around you. Together, we have all been impacted. Together, we are all part of the journey toward healing, strength, and resilience. This journey is not easy, but we will walk it side by side. This is our shared story, and together we will continue to move forward. As we stand together, we are faced with an important and difficult question. What does moving forward look like? How, after such loss, can it even be possible? Thank you for standing. Thank you for recognizing each other. You may be seated. Moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean the pain disappears. Moving forward means carrying the memory of those we've lost with us, honoring their legacy through the lives and the way we live them, finding strength in our shared commitment to heal and rebuild. Resilience is not a one-time achievement. It's a process, a journey that we will walk together every day. It's found in the support we offer one another in a conversation, a hug, a prayer. Resilience is in the rebuilding of the trust that was broken, the acts of service, and the determination to create a safer, stronger community for the future. For some, moving forward may mean seeking help, finding new ways to cope, or rediscovering purpose. For others, it may be in supporting those around them, lifting up those who are struggling, or creating space for grief and remembrance. As a community, moving forward means continuing to honor the lives lost by ensuring they are never forgotten. It means working together to build a future that reflects the values of unity, compassion, and strength that have carried us through this past year. I've seen so many examples of resilience. I've seen neighbors check in on each other, businesses open their doors as safe spaces, feeding our responders and our community. Strangers become friends as they've come together in their times of need, and those most deeply impacted forge new bonds in understanding and solidarity. From the simple acts of sharing a meal to the profound courage of those who have shared their stories here tonight, we have supported one another in ways large and small. This is how I know we are resilient and that together we will heal. We recognize that for many, a permanent memorial is an important part of the long-term healing process. It is not just about creating a place of remembrance, but about the process of planning it together. There will be a memorial, and it will not be for a few, but for all of us, and we understand how crucial it is to engage those most impacted. Your voices, your experiences, your memories, these are what will shape the memorial. And the journey to create it is as important as the memorial itself. We invite each and every one of you, whether you are here tonight, watching from home or live streaming, to join us in this process. You can visit onelewiston.org or use the QR code on your program. You can scan it today. You can take it home and scan it in the days to come when you are ready. We hope that you sign up for updates on the planning process, that you find ways to engage with us, contribute your thoughts. Your input will help us create something that truly honors our shared journey and ensures that this memorial reflects the strength, compassion, and unity that has carried us through. Together, we will move through our grief and towards healing. Together, we will find ways to memorialize this event that changed us, and together we will be resilient. Thank you.
On October 29th last year, many of us gathered at St. Peter and St. Paul for a vigil that in many ways began the process of healing. That night, Reverend Sarah Gillespie was such an inspirational part of the vigil. She is a board-certified chaplain and ordained Unitarian Universalist minister with experience in hospice and palliative care, intensive care, behavioral health, and geriatrics. She is trained in interpersonal group dynamics and interfaith education. She understands the spiritual and physical crises that many of us have dealt with over the past year. She will join us now. Please welcome Reverend Gillespie.
To the family members, survivors, first responders, dispatchers, business owners, community members, friends, advocates, interpreters, neighbors, thank you for showing up, for being here, for not losing hope in one another. I want to begin by sharing words from the poet and author Jan Richardson entitled "Blessing for the Brokenhearted." She begins with a quote, "There is no remedy for love but to love more," from Henry David Thoreau. Let us agree for now that we will not say the breaking makes us stronger, or that it is better to have this pain than to have done without this love. Let us promise we will not tell ourselves time will heal the wound when every day our waking opens it anew. Perhaps for now it can be enough to simply marvel at the mystery of how a heart so broken can go on beating, as if it were made for precisely this, as if it knows the only cure for love is more of it, as if it sees the heart's sole remedy for breaking is to love still, as if it trusts that its own persistent pulse is the rhythm of a blessing we cannot begin to fathom, but will save us nonetheless. Everyone here can agree on the brokenness we encountered a year ago tonight, and that which we have met again and again in the year that has followed. Things are not okay, as many have shared, and we don't have to pretend to be anywhere other than where we are, or feel any other way than how we feel. And yet, despite of or because of that brokenness, we come together tonight carrying our grief alongside our strength and hope. For many of us, that grief is still a deep wound, not yet beginning to heal. It is tender to the touch and easily bruised, something we want to cover up and hide away. For others of us, our grief is a burning gash, noticeable at every turn, unable to be ignored. And then others, the grief is a fragile scar, beginning to stitch itself back together with new pink skin. And for many, our grief has taken a back seat at times to other pieces of our lives that this violent act could not pause. No matter where you are in that grief journey, what you feel is valid and worth sharing with those around you. You are not doing this wrong. You are not behind or ahead of others. You are just here, and that is what matters. There are no instructions for this, except that we be gentle with one another and with ourselves. And while the brokenness did bring us here tonight, that is not what we will leave with. We are not here tonight to talk only about the breaking. We are here to remember, to honor, to begin to piece our precious lives back together in a different way than they used to be. And as many have mentioned, this requires the strength that we talk about with Lewiston Strong, a motto I see on many different shirts and lawns and hats here tonight in my own closet. And we've been talking about what does that phrase really mean to us. The opening lines of the blessing say, "Let us agree for now that we will not say the breaking makes us stronger." And this refers to that typical picture of strength, like Tom said, the hockey player, the strength you can see on the outside with visible muscles or dominating size. But that's not necessarily the strength we're talking about. But what does being strong look like when 18 unique, beautiful human beings were taken from us in a matter of minutes, when many more were injured and even more left with trauma and emotional wounds? I believe that the strong we're talking about when we say Lewiston Strong is a quiet strength, a fragile strength, a strength that refuses to be fueled by hatred, but instead insists on love and community and compassion. For some, our strength comes from our families, our friends, our neighbors. For many tonight, it's the softball team, the cornhole friends, or the bowling leagues. For others, it comes from what we consider holy, whether we call it God or the universe, great mystery, love. For many, it comes from our natural world, this beautiful place we call home, this earth that continues to remind us all of the creation and destruction that is possible in the world, and yet none of it permanent. And it's from that strength that we find our hope, not my hope or your hope, but shared hope that we grow together and sometimes have to borrow from one another. The hope that today will be better than yesterday and that the next year may be better than this one. Time may not heal us, but it will show us how our grief can be carried differently as we continue to put one foot in front of another, one day at a time. Looking out at this gathering tonight, I feel the heavy grief. I sense our tender inner strength and acknowledge the precious hope that we have nurtured here simply by showing up and meeting this day. Our broken hearts continue to beat, and I pray that they beat with and for one another, for all we have lost, and for the hope of love that still remains, that can never be broken. May it be so. Amen.
Before we wrap things up tonight, I wanted to share some news. Across the way, Lewiston High School is leading Brunswick 14-0 in the second quarter of the football game. Go Blue Devils. Sorry, it's what I do for a living. Old habits die hard. Thinking about being here tonight, I couldn't help but think that this is a community of bridges. Auto and pedestrian bridges spanning the Androscoggin, connecting Lewiston and Auburn. That word again, and. It's also a place where we bridge cultures. From the French-Canadian families who came here to find jobs a century ago, to the refugees who have come here from around the world more recently to seek safer and happier lives. At our best, we have come together as a community to support one another. And tonight is a reminder that together we are stronger. Together we are one Lewiston. The beauty of bridges is that they lead somewhere. We cross them on our way to a destination. We hope tonight was an uplifting part of your journey. More than 1,000 candles here tonight, reminding us that there is light even in the darkest of times. Thank you, Lewiston, for teaching me the meaning of resiliency, for reminding me to always be compassionate, to showing me that this arena actually doesn't smell like French fries all the time. But mostly, thank you, Lewiston, for being my hometown and for reminding me and the rest of the world what it means to be Lewiston Strong. Please welcome back to the stage to wrap up the night, Shanna Cox and Danielle Parent.
Thank you, too. Thank you, Tom, not just for the score update, for being here tonight and being an incredible host for us. We appreciate it. There are many thank yous and offers of gratitude that we would like to share to so very many people who made tonight possible. We'd like to thank those who helped plan tonight, the One Lewiston Resiliency Fund Committee and its event committee members. Our sincere thanks as well to our partners who helped ensure inclusive access in the Colisee and to those viewing at home. Thank you, HPA Productions, WGME, The Sun Journal, and so many more. We want to recognize the care and kindness that contributed to the thoughtful displays, memories, and touches that helped create tonight's experience. Our deep thanks as well to those who donated items key to the comfort of our guests and our volunteers. Tonight's experience would not have been possible without the dozens, hundred of volunteers and care teams who were here throughout the day and will be here after the event concludes. We also want to recognize and thank the Lewiston High School Choir, as well as our Honor Guard, the Maine State Police Pipe and Drum Band, and all of the first responders who assisted in planning and who responded a year ago. We would also like to express our deep gratitude to the survivors, the victims and the victims' families who engaged in planning and those who spoke tonight. Thank you for your gifts of knowledge, patience, and persistence.
Thank you, Shanna. I would like to also express gratitude to you and the Chamber of Commerce for stepping into this work a year ago in support of those impacted and by this tragedy and by leading the efforts in planning this beautiful commemorative event. As we end our program this evening, I want to thank each of you in this room, watching live or elsewhere. I want to thank you for showing up today and every day this past year for yourselves, for each other, and for this community. For many of us, there will ever be a before and after October 25th, 2023. The ripples of impact are vast. Healing isn't a linear process. It's often messy and complex. In the coming days and years, it's my hope that you will continue to show up for yourselves and for one another, that you will give yourself grace, and remember, it is okay to not be okay.
Ceremony. Again, that wraps up the Lewiston Commemoration ceremony. We want to thank you for sticking with us for this. What really stood out, I think, to me about the ceremony is how much they included the deaf community, not just with an interpreter off to the side. They really brought in different people. They had Josh Seal's wife come and speak, Lauren Ridloff, an actress who is deaf, and Tommy Minch, a deaf advocate. So it was really nice to see them included in part of this community commemoration.
And that's such a key word. I think there was such a strong message of community, the relationships that have been born out of what happened a year ago. And you mentioned Tommy Minch, specifically he said community unity and kind of a challenge to how do we carry that forward as we move into year number 2 since this tragedy. A lot happened in the last 2 hours that we are glad to have shared this evening with you, and this will wrap up our coverage of the commemoration event.
Remember to take care of one another. We want to leave you with some sights of Lewiston and with 2 words that have brought a community and a state together after one of our darkest days, Lewiston Strong. Thank you for being with us.